Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. I just have a few minutes here before my guest pops on today, and I don't even want to try to pronounce his name because I don't want to butcher it, so I'll have him introduce himself. But I have a doctor on with me for this episode, and he is the co-founder and the CEO of award-winning sexual health company called MysteryVibe, which this is my first time hearing about it, so I'm really excited to dive in with him. And he is on a mission to make sexual health accessible to all across, all ages, genders, and orientations. In his role as CEO of MysteryVibe, he focuses on pushing the boundaries on R&D, customer experience, and supporting their long-term goals of making sexual health an integral part of our overall health. He passionately believes that by empowering people with actionable knowledge and purposeful innovation is the way to make this happen. So I'm super excited about this episode. We're going to dive into actually the medical benefits behind vibrators and specific targeted vibration. And we're going to talk about ways that they can be used to treat various ailments. So things like pelvic floor, discomfort, vulva pain, discomfort during sex, vaginal dryness, and then even erectile dysfunction. So I'm super duper excited. Let's jump into this, shall we? Tell us a little bit. You are the CEO. You've started this company called MysteryVibe, and you are also a doctor. Can you kind of share with us a little bit of your background, how you decided to get into this type of work?
Yes, so my background is biomedical engineering. Studied a PhD in biometrics. Back then, my focus was ophthalmology, working with eyes and iris recognition. It's a while back. It's almost 20 years ago that I did my PhD, and I always wanted to stay in biomedical because I love the bringing engineering into medicine and creating devices which can help without any side effects that medicines have. And as after my PhD, I was working in consulting, and and the topic that always came up was major life events like childbirth, menopause, aging related issues like erectile dysfunction, and all of them had major impact on your sex life, on your intimacy, and keeping that mystery in the bedroom. So so I thought if I wanted to get back to doing biomedical again, I would love to focus on that specific area of anatomy, urology, gynecology, pelvic floor, andrology, and really figure out how we can bring engineering expertise into creating devices that can help with blood flow, arousal, pain relief, dryness, erections, ejaculation, all of the very basic things when it comes to sexual health, which are affected by, again, very day to day stuff like having a kid, having menopause. Like, none of this is out of the ordinary. Every woman above 50 pretty much will have
Mm-hmm.
menopause, and 60% of adult females will have a kid. And erectile dysfunction, like 50% of men have it, and it gets more and more as you age. Nothing special about these issues, but if they're completely overlooked, um, then you end up letting the issues like pelvic pain become chronic, become um, long lasting, and it could make your marriage or relationship completely sexless, and there would be no intimacy in the bedroom because of pain, dryness, erection issues, etc. So that's how um, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago now, we started building Mystery Vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. And so not only did you have an area of interest in this, you wanted to help normalize this and then decided to start a whole entire company around it.
Yeah.
That's pretty fascinating. That takes a special kind of person to want to take it that far. So I applaud you, and I'm very excited to have you on today to talk more about this. And So when you from with you having this medical background, why do you think it is that, as you said, these things are so common? Every adult is essentially going to go through one of these major life things that you would mention. Why do you think it is still so taboo for us to talk about this, or to be creating devices like, vibrators or stimulators and things like that to be able to help somebody in this area?
I think a big challenge, and this has always been the case, is often people they're not aware of of one, what they're struggling with. I'll give you an example soon. And because, and even if they're aware, they don't really know that there can be solutions. So they don't even seek it out.
Mm.
Um, and then when they do seek it out, um, maybe the specialists don't know about all the solutions out there. Just and the answer to all of this is lack of education and awareness. So to give you an example of post childbirth pelvic pain, um, unless the during the antenatal time, unless the would-be mom at that stage was told about pelvic floor, what carrying um, 20-kilo weight for 9 months does to the pelvic floor, and why does it matter, what, and having pain is normal, but you need to do these things. If no one told you about it, you wouldn't know, because this is not part of any sex ed anywhere that I know of. So the I think the biggest gap is education. Before anything else, is like if you're not even uh, aware of these things happening to you, then you wouldn't know what to even ask for. But then the second point is, let's say you do know that you have uh, pain in the pelvic floor, and you do know that you need to go see a doctor, but maybe you go see a general doctor, and they might not be trained in that. They might simply not have the answer. Um, and having access to an expert like a pelvic floor therapist is often, not uh, easy in many parts of the world. They might not even know where to find one. So, and that's step two. And then the step three is, let's say you go to someone and they can help you, like a pelvic floor therapist can help you with fingers. So typically they would use two fingers to reach and massage the areas which are painful, and the trigger points. But they might not be able to help you beyond the session, right? So if they are not aware that there are devices that the patient can take home and use to look after themselves every day, because one, they wouldn't have time to go to a therapist every day, but also most people wouldn't have the financial resources to go to a pelvic floor therapist every day. So that's really where devices can be super useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you on all aspects of that. I think the education is first and foremost where we are lacking in my work. That's the biggest thing. And when then it comes to the medical field, it takes so much bravery in the first place for someone to then ask a doctor a question related to their sexual health. And what I find in the work that I do is primarily people think, oh, this pain is normal. This pain is common. Like every other woman that I've talked to is also having this sort of pain or discomfort, right? And what we need to know is that it is common, yes, but it is not normal. You should not be experiencing pain during penetrative sex or, you know, any
Mhm.
any sort of stimulation really. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I know if I could if I could go back in time,
Yeah,
I'd love
I
to
think
rewrite
the
sex ed.
issue is yeah, and I think the other issue is often uh, like a different example would be erectile dysfunction, or just generally issues with erection. Often men think that if they do nothing about it, the problem will go away, and then okay, maybe it was a one-off and it might go away, but in many cases it just gets worse because they start to get anxiety, and anxiety makes it worse in terms of getting erect. And and then often they just leave it for a long time before seeking help. So that's also a common thing we see where men say, "Oh, I didn't really deal with it for a long time, and now I feel like it. I need to do something about it."
How many men do you find that when something like erectile dysfunction comes up, that they just kind of chalk it off as it's something that happens with age and then they don't seek out treatment or help for it?
So most our doctors say it's really the 80-20 rule, where only 20% people seek professional help and 80% either suffer in silence or search Google, for answers. And often they don't know what is a good answer, what's a bad answer. Like, if someone finds herbal Viagra, in most, like, it's very likely to be just a caffeine shot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's probably not going to do anything for them. Um, it's really finding genuine answers, which is which is tough because if all you have is Google, and Google has everything. It has good stuff. It has fake stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you differentiate? So that's a big part of again going back to education is information, signposting, and giving people the options. So these are the things you could do
Mm-hmm.
to any sexual health issues. There'll always be lots of different solutions, and it will be what is the right solution for that person.
Yeah.
um like I would never say, like, let's say for ED, um if someone says, should I take Viagra, should I take use gels, should I use devices, like, it really is up to the what is right for the person.
Mm-hmm.
um and there is no generic answer. So for example, if someone has a heart condition and they take Viagra, it would be very bad for them. So typically they'd be told not to, um, because it is a blood flow medicine. So there is no easy answer without actually understanding the person,
Mm-hmm.
and their condition, what is the right answer. So I feel the best answer is giving them the options and helping signposting them to find out what is the right one for them.
Yeah. And with your profession being primarily educating and offering devices or creams and things like that, how often are you also suggesting for them to do work either with a sex therapist or sex coach or counselor as a proponent to that work?
uh, as 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 often as we can, and more importantly now, we are doing more tie-ups with apps. So for example, a recent tie-up we did is with the app called lover.io, and it's an app for to find therapists and clinicians to help with various things like ED, arousal, etc. Um, and the reason I like, again, it's signposting really. Reason I like partnerships is because our our expertise is devices. We're engineers. We can build really good products, but we are not good at other things. Like, we're not chemists.
Mm-hmm.
We can't make lubes. We are not therapists. We can't do therapy, right? But there are amazing lube companies, and then we say, hey, why don't you buy this lube? It's very, it's great. It's FDA. It's proven to be effective, etc. Similarly, like, this is a great place to find therapists for whatever is the right match for you. And um, and then all of these companies, they're working very hard in their domains. Like lover.io is working on finding all the best therapists, making it easy. Say someone like Pure Lube is making really good lubes, which can be water based, and different types that different people will like. So it's just finding the right collection of solutions
Mm-hmm.
and making those available to people, so people can easily get those. And something, again, going back to the lube, something as simple as a lube is a really easy solution often for menopause and
Mm-hmm.
dryness. um, and maybe that is the first step. It's a very small amount, maybe $10 investment, and that itself could significantly change your quality of life.
Yeah.
uh, Right, and the thing, so we every year we go to NAMS, North American Menopause Society, and we exhibit. And what we find is just the fact that we're there starts conversations because let's
Mm.
say the average age would be 55, 60, the ladies who come there, and they'll say, oh, it's very interesting to see, and everyone calls us a sex toy company, and we love that. Like, it's very interesting to see a sex toy company here. And then they talk about it. Oh, we've never even been to a sex shop,
Mm.
and we're very curious, like, what is it that these devices do, and what are they for, and
Yeah.
why are you in a medical conference? And then especially if doctors we work with are there standing with us, they can have a really serious conversation about the science behind it, and the real benefits of vibration, and how, for example, external stimulation on the labia can help with blood flow and create arousal without inserting anything, which is what often they're scared of, with dryness, and they don't want to insert anything. So it's just these solutions. And then again, the loop, like, we don't make them, but
Mm-hmm.
we're very happy to recommend. Like, have you tried it? Like, no, we didn't even think about lube as a solution because we think lube is for kinky sex.
Mm.
And we're like, you do realize that lube is an FDA. Most lubes are FDA medical products. Like, they're pretty much as medical as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same as a condom is a medical product, right? It has to be manufactured to medical standards. Yes, of course, you use it for fun, but it's not a silly thing. So and once they it's also about the assurance that it's normal, it's healthy, it's not something kinky and special for very niche audiences, um, and it's like totally commonplace. And that's the message that we want to get out there, that things like lubes, vibrators, gels, etc., are very common things that anyone can try, and see if that's the solution for them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on a similar mission over here for sure. Just normalizing these conversations and toys and lubes and everything in between. So I want to hear a little bit more about your company specifically because I was looking up before this, looking up Mystery Vibe and seeing some of the toys and things that you offer on there. In your opinion, what makes the products at Mystery Vibe different than products, let's say somebody would go to a sex shop and buy?
So the main difference is we build everything with doctors to medical standards, and the goal of all of them have specific purposes. So for example, the crescendo device mimics two fingers, and it literally does what a pelvic floor therapist does with their fingers, bends, reaches the areas that needs stimulation, delivers the vibrations at specific frequencies, helps with arousal, helps with blood flow, helps with pain relief. Um, the Molto product, for example, is a single finger bendy device which mimics what a neurologist would do to stimulate the prostate, yeah, to help with prostate secretions, reduce prostatitis, improve prostate health. And so every device is designed by the doctors and clinicians in that field who have a standard of care that we try to recreate using adaptable devices which bend and reach the points that need vibration for stimulation for blood flow. So that's the fundamental of what we do.
Yeah, and I love that there's so much more of that just medical intentionality behind each of your toys, mimicking, as you said, exactly what a pelvic floor PT would do. And so when it comes, you mentioned erectile dysfunction several times. What sort of devices and things have you created for people with erectile dysfunction? That's something in my work I actually get asked about quite often. And to my knowledge, aside from pumps and things like that, I'm not sure. I've not really seen anything else. So is there something that you would offer with your company that I could start recommending to people?
Yes, so the product that is it's actually our most awarded product
Hmm.
because it was the most complex product to build. Um, and I'll give you a little bit of background to why there are not many penis products. Like you said, yeah, there are not many penis products. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
more vaginal products, a lot more clitoral products in terms of sex toys and medical generally, is because penises change significantly from flaccid to erect for even the same person. So, let alone different penises across different people, that the
Mm-hmm.
same penis changes so much
Mm.
in length, in diameter, in girth, that it is really complex to build a product that will be effective and comfortable. And
Mm.
this is the biggest challenge of penis products. So you might make something very effective by making it very tight, because effectiveness comes from how well you can retain the blood, create the blood flow and retain the blood flow. But you would still want to make it comfortable.
Mm.
How do you make that comfortable and constricting? But at the same time, you also want to allow ejaculation. How do you make it so it blocks the blood but not the semen? And that's where it gets super
Mm.
complicated. So the product we built, Tenuto, took maybe 5 years of building, trying, rebuilding from scratch, trying again,
Mm.
uh, and now, so we're 9 years old now. So we it's the second version, Tenuto 2, the one on our website. It's gone through so many iterations, and the reason why it was so complicated is because we had to create the material that it uses, because it had to be it's a composite of lots of different types of plastics, polymer, resin, um, injected with water vapor, and then overmolded. So it's this um, very flexible composite that you can stretch as many thousands of times.
Mm.
It will never break, but more importantly, it will never lose the tightness no matter how much you stretch.
Mm.
And and that is what took us years to figure out. And it was by far the most complex product we've ever made. And it is still the most complex product to
Mm.
manufacture for our manufacturer as well. So it has a gap. So if you see Tenuto on our website, there's
Mm-hmm.
a gap just below the area where the penis sits, and the gap allows ejaculation. It is also the gap that allows you to open and stretch and put on, the range is around 80% of penis diameters it can accommodate,
Mm-hmm.
and then it will constrict by springing back. And so it creates erection by sitting on the penis head. It has three very powerful motors on the front, and it creates that strong vibration all around. Then you simply slide it up. So the biggest difference with a vacuum pump is you have to, once you get erect with the vacuum pump, you have to take it off and quickly put a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's quite a difficult maneuver, because you have to quickly take it off and put a ring, and it's also not very intuitive, right?
Mm.
So what we did with Tenuto is create direction, then stretch it, pull it back, and sit at the base and keep vibrating, so it grips the base, holds the blood, and during intercourse, the vibration, really powerful vibrations of the front bit, um, and envelops the entire labia, so the partner gets a huge amount of stimulation externally, which
Mm.
helps them with their arousal, and also helps introduce the toy into the bedroom as a pleasure device, and especially from a male perspective, as a toy that he's wearing for her
Mm.
pleasure, not as something to say I have a problem and I'm trying to solve my problem. Because
Mm.
that is the 80% who don't want to talk about the problem, and that's the 80% we're trying to address through the pleasure discussion. The 20% obviously go to a urologist or andrologist, and they will get a solution, and they might get the same product, but they've already made the jump from I'm going to, from I'm not talking about it to I am going to seek a professional. So the 80% that are not yet ready to go see a doctor, they can simply buy a device from a website, get it delivered in a brown box. No one needs to know what it is, and they can then say it's a gift for their partner that they wear on their penis, and their partner has amazing arousal and orgasms during
Mm-hmm.
intercourse, which is obviously a very common issue, where men ejaculate sooner than women orgasm, and often there is that gap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very easy reason to um, have a device, because it is a known problem.
Yeah.
right? From a guy perspective, is I would love to help my partner orgasm as soon at the same time as me, or you know, with me,
Hmm.
rather than I finish and I feel very bad that she isn't orgasming yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at this on the website, and I mean, it's very, very interesting looking at first. I wouldn't, I'm glad I asked about it. And I'm glad you recommended it and talked a little bit more about it, because now as you explained it, I can see exactly how it'd be working. And so we'll make sure to get the website linked in the show notes too, so that people that are listening can go and check out
Yeah.
these
So if you
products.
see, I think the video, like the first video,
Mm-hmm.
when you scroll down, shows on a glass penis
Mm-hmm.
how it works. So that's the easiest way to understand how it works on a penis. So it sits at the head of the penis first. It's a two-step process.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the vacuum pump is a two-step process, you pump and then ring. So this is vibrate the head to create the arousal, then slide it back and sit at the base. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. So this is the most complex product we've ever made, and by far our most popular best-selling product ever.
I believe
Yeah.
it. I definitely believe it. I've heard of people in their 20s experiencing ED. It's not just, yes, it is common, with older age and whatnot, but it's definitely something when you bring in, you mentioned like with the anxiety adding to the mix of it,
Mhm.
it really can happen at any age. And there's no,
I think the stat was 40% of ED is um, neurogenic, where it is mind related, not physiological, where it's stress, it's anxiety. Um, and a good way to know if it's not physiological is night erections. Because if they have night erections, typically it means everything is working correctly. Uh, Genitally, like blood flow, etc. Um, yeah, and often, especially younger men can get erect but can't maintain the erection. Um, but with Tenuto, the things we wanted to really focus on is both get erect and stay erect, because those are two really important elements, which cover quite a different range of ED. So there is a paper that got published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, which was a study that happened last year with Tenuto, and it was on colorectal cancer survivors. So, because after cancer, often, especially when say colon is removed or prostate is removed, ED is almost inevitable. And in that case, I remember the person started with severe ED, as in the score was 7, uh, the erectile score, which is very low and very severe. And in 5 weeks, uh, he was on 15, which is very mild ED. So that got published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine, which is the top journal in our field. So, and then we're currently running a much bigger study on what we were just talking about is the neurogenic AD, um, and focusing on men of all ages, very much healthy otherwise, but have erection issues primarily due to anxiety, stress. Uh, yeah, yeah,
that's
that's what we
fascinating.
are.
I'm so glad that there's people out there working on this. And I work for a sex toy company myself, and same. I know that there's always research, and there's always more of a need for newer things to come out in the product line. And yeah, it just warms my heart to hear that there's other companies out there doing the same work too.
Yeah, and the thing is, we always try to find different solutions. So, um, a good example is the wand. So we don't make anything like the wand because that's a different category of vibration, very powerful. So when people reach out to us and they say, like, we need very high power of vibration to get simulation, then we would tell them our products are not the right one for you. You know, here's a suggestion of a product you could buy. Um, because our goal is to help people with solutions. It doesn't matter whether it's our product or some other product, loop, other vibrators, um, app for therapists, whatever is that solution. If we have helped some way, hopefully it then adds to that mystery in the bedroom goal. ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I saw that you did a recent article on sort of trends that are starting to show up or that you're expecting to show up. Can you speak a little bit about that? Kind of where do you see from your end the world of sex toys really heading?
I think there'll be, or I hope there will be more compliance focus, more safety focus, more regulatory focus now that we have an ISO standard for sex toys, which got approved and published last year. Um, so that's something I would love to see more companies adopt. So we have a different ISO that we have to follow, which is for medical devices. But that's because we are FDA regulated.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, we're not, we don't expect that to be followed by everyone because it's really onerous. Um, the sex toy ISO is a subset of the medical device ISO, and by I'm hoping that more and more brands would want to have that as part of their marketing. And by having that, obviously, it means that they're aligned with all the ISO standards. It will encourage more and more brands to jump on the bandwagon of ISO, and it would normalize, or it would just create that expectation from the consumer that this is a device that I might insert in my body
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make sure it's safe, which should be very obvious, right? Like it is odd that people don't think about it yet, because to me, the norm should be an expectation that it's safe,
Yeah. I
right?
mean, it's essentially the most vulnerable part of your body, right? Your genitals.
Exactly, exactly. So to me, that should be the norm. Like, oh, we need it to be safe as a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it shouldn't be an exception. So to me, that's a big thing that I hope to see, and it's such a great thing that ISO becoming live. Um, and I think that happened in 21, so it's been live for a couple of years. So, and it's not that we need to have it regulated. It's more brands opting in to do it,
Mm. Yeah.
and then really talking about it and educating the customers that the customer should really look for safety when they're buying devices. And it doesn't matter whether it's a $10 product or a $100 product. They might be very different in features, but they should all be equally safe to use. So that's a big trend I hope to see. Um, I think there will be a lot more with um, uh, apps helping people answer questions, signposting, and finding solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's devices, toys, lubes, doctors, clinicians, um, and there will be a lot more AI in it, and a good use of AI, because there is a lot of research which shows people are more happy and open to chat when they know it's a computer and not a person
Mm.
than when it's a person, even if it's behind a screen. They
Interesting.
There is this psychological block that I don't really want to tell this person about my sex life. But when it's very obvious, it's a AI, it's a chatbot, it's a robot, it's a computer, like I'm happy to say anything,
Mm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
and that tiny piece of data tells me that we should invest in applying all the great AI advances we are seeing into sexual health and wellness chats to then signpost and find solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
So that's a big one. I think will happen. Yeah.
That's really neat to hear, actually. Our company kind of steers away from any sort of app related because of just the risks of it being hacked or anything like that. And so none of the toys or anything that we offer come with app support. We do have, consultant support. And but that's interesting that you said that, because when they're reaching out to consultant support, it's an actual person that they're directly reaching out to. So Very fascinating, actually. I've learned something, so thank you for that.
Yeah, but
And
I think just generally, um, and the way I see it is tech and innovation happens in wherever, which part of the um, engineering and science faculty, whichever, but it's taking the best tech and applying it to sex that makes
mm,
sex tech grow faster. It's not inventing brand new tech, it's applying really good tech that others have been working on for completely different applications like AI. A company like DeepMind
mm,
with Google's money would have spent tens of billions, and very few companies in the world can match that. But we can use that to then help people with sexual health issues if DeepMind isn't doing that already, right?
mm,
So I think the rapid growth comes from applying tech built for other things into sex tech.
mm-hmm. Sex tech. I like that. Well, thank you so much again, Dr. Soum, for coming on today. And where can listeners find you or find Mystery Vibe? Anything that you want to share here as we wrap up?
So everything is on our website, mysteryvibe.com, and a big part of what we do is education.
Mm,
So, beyond looking at the products, and we have 6 products on our site, definitely check out the blog, and it's completely free, no ads, no pop-ups, nothing, because it's genuinely there to help start conversations.
mm,
Thousands of informational, very action-oriented articles where it's like, if you want to uh, make your bedroom exciting, like step one, do this,
mm-hmm,
step two, do this, and like very short bullet points, links to music playlist you can play in the background, links to porn sites you can watch, like really simple, very easy to read, very actionable. That's our goal with all the content we write. It's not for SEO, it's for humans to read and action. So hopefully that will, again, like signposting and helping people find the answers to just a lot of curious questions people have, or medical questions like pain, dryness, prostate cancer. So we write about everything, or we work with specialists like doctors and sex educators to write about everything.
yeah, thank you so much. And like I said, I was doing some digging on this, and I'm also very impressed by the website, even just the information that you have underneath each of the products that you offer and showing different ways to use it with the pictures and everything. And yeah, I'm a big fan. I will definitely be utilizing this in the future. So thank you again so much for coming on the podcast and sharing this information with us and sharing your knowledge and expertise. I appreciate you, and
Thank you very much for having me.
absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week, and until then, keep owning your sexual self.